cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck and Rico Lamitte, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us.
Oh, yeah. Thoughts and opinions and shade thrown on the High at 9 News are those of individual speakers and not those of any other speaker or its followers. The statements made do not constitute legal or accounting advice, and any of our speakers make no representation regarding the legal status of any substance in any country, area, or territory, or any other authorities. The views expressed in this room do not establish any fiduciary relationship, and our sponsors do not imply or constitute any endorsement by us or the expression of any opinion whatsoever on part of the speaker on the stage. If you are easily offended person, you're probably better off watching Morning Joe. Welcome back, everybody out there watching and listening, and we are back in full effect. It's Monday, December 5th, and today is National Repeal Day, commemorating the day alcohol prohibition ended and in the United States. Maybe someday this will also be for cannabis. It's also National Ninja Day, for all the weirdos finding pleasure in running out with sharp objects and dark clothing at night. And National Bathtub Party Day for all you fans of Ernie and Bert out there. They're just friends. Leave them alone. And thank you for joining and getting high at 9 with us yet again. It's also high noon on the East Coast. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. We're live Monday through Friday on YouTube and Twitch, and also on Clubhouse for audio only. If you're in the Clubhouse room, you can also participate in the show by raising your hand if you have a brief comment on the story presented. Those tuning in, you guys might notice we're short one member of our trio. Nicole West will no longer be associated with High at 9's programming going forward. And if you have any questions about her departure or what she'll be up to next, send them on over to info@highat9news.com, and we'll be more than happy to answer. Moving on. Are we going to go to a break here, or are we going to just head into the story, Jason?
Yeah, we're going to pay a quick bill, and then we'll be right back.
All right.
At True Classic OG, we live by one motto: stay true. We stay true to our legacy cut of True OG that's always fresh, piney, gassy, and delicious. We represent the spirit, hustle, and diversity of our great city of Angels. And we stay true to the spirit of this plant, doing everything in-house to ensure that you get the highest quality and consistency with every batch. And that's what's made us LA's favorite OG. True Classic OG. Stay true, Los Angeles.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It is coming up first. It is the dope dad himself, Rico Lamitte, when he fought a tough bid with COVID and is now back with us.
Come on up here, Rico. It is none other than the dope dad himself, Rico Lamitte.
Thank you for that excellent intro, Jason. My headline today is coming from Benzinga. Nikki Fried is from Benzinga by Nina Gidek, and it's Nikki Fried slams DeSantis for dereliction of duty after he canceled meeting for cannabis pardons. Florida's pro-pot commissioner of agriculture is the spice to Florida man and probable 2024 presidential candidate Ron DeSantis in an open letter accusing him of dereliction of duty over DeSantis's cancellation of a December state clemency board meeting. Fried says that the meeting was planned to present pardons for those convicted of simple cannabis possession offenses and put them onto the clemency board's agenda. The board reviews pardon requests from prisoners and is made up of the Florida cabinet, Freed, DeSantis, Florida Chief Financial Officer Jimmy Patronis, and Attorney General Ashley Moody. In an open letter to the governor, Freed wrote, "You have once again chosen to cancel our clemency board meeting as well as another cabinet meeting. Given that we have only had one meeting of the clemency board this year, it's a dereliction of duty. We've taken the first critical step towards rectifying past wrongs and moving state policy in line with prevailing thought of most Floridians and most Americans. Instead, you choose to delay justice for tens of thousands of your fellow Floridians. Criminalization of simple marijuana possession has led to unnecessary, long-lasting consequences for too many Floridians, limiting their access to employment, housing, and educational opportunities. By placing this issue on December 14th agenda of the State Board Executive Clemency and pardoning simple marijuana possession offenses, you can take the critical step toward rectifying past wrongs and moving state policy in line with prevailing thoughts of most Floridians." Freed went on to also note that in the letter that 71% of Floridians voted in 2016 for a medical program which now boasts 713,000 registered patients, as well as a recent University of Florida public research poll revealing 75% of state residents support recreational cannabis legalization. While I agree with Nikki Freed here, calling the governor and canceling the meeting in an open email like this and saying it's dereliction of duty just kind of seems a little bit grandstandish in my opinion. And I admit I don't personally have a better game plan for getting an anti-cannabis governor who's more concerned about facing Gavin Newsom in the upcoming 2024 presidential race. But the hyperbolic rhetoric that she's using in the letter, I think it falls a bit short. We all know that where DeSantis stands on weed legislation at this point, and despite constant pleas and open lobbying against by the longest continuously operating retailer in the cannabis industry, Jason Beck, DeSantis has stuck to his guns, and a better path for Florida would be to bleed legal medical operators dry. He recently noted that he is not and will not be looking to open full legalization in the Sunshine State anytime soon, and medical operators should be paying a lot more for the privilege to legally operate in Florida. My suggestion to Nikki Freed here is to keep pushing, and for Floridians looking to push legislation further towards progress, don't give up hope. But when it comes to scathing emails, quote unquote scathing emails, aiming to publicly dismantle politicians who've literally modeled their careers after Donald Trump, you got to come a little harder than that. This is Rico Lamitte, dopest dad on the street for High at 9 News. Love to hear what the rest of the team has to say about this one.
Well, I agree with you, Rico. It's the whole thing was silly and ridiculous. I mean, Nikki Freed's on her way out the door, and DeSantis was just overwhelmingly reelected. And if you were looking for cannabis reform from Ron DeSantis, you're living in the wrong state. I don't know what you're thinking. It just seems a bit ridiculous. I'm hopeful that maybe she did this as a way to set herself up as for PR for something else better to come. But it just all seems a bit much. He's not giving pardons out as much as Jason Beck would love for DeSantis to be his boy.
No.
It ain't
DeSantis
happening.
is not doing that. Yeah. That was never in my Florida was never in the cards for me expecting on a mass pardon. That was never in the books. But I do want to say one note is that the reason that Floridians have smokable flower is because of Ron DeSantis.
And why is that? Extrapolate upon that, please.
So basically, the legislature had to legislate that into allowing that into their program. And when DeSantis became the governor, he basically told the legislature, either you guys are going to create something or I'm going to do it. And he ended up doing it. And that is why Floridians have the ability for smokable flower.
Well, if he
I'd
was
like
so
to have him
great,
for
why
actual
wouldn't
free.
he push
Same.
adult use through? I mean, if he really cares,
I don't
put
think
some muscle behind
I
this.
think he needs I think he still needs to evolve on the issue. Like he understands the medical benefits, and that people that want to choose that as a medical treatment, he's all in favor of. But he does need to evolve more on the issue in regards to freedom and allowing adults to make their own choices for their own livelihoods.
And you haven't gone to the personal compound to help him evolve yet, Jason Beck?
I mean, there have been a couple of those, conversations and whatnot, and I look forward to many more.
Here's my take. It makes sense that he advocated for adult use because that makes money, and that he wouldn't for pardons because that doesn't, and he's Republican.
He didn't advocate for adult use. He's for medical. No, he's saying that he's not going to allow adult use. He's not for adult use. But what he is saying is that the operators in Florida should be paying more in taxes because of the right to be able to operate in Florida.
Crazy.
Yeah, he thinks it's a privilege to be able to operate, and they should be charging them more. In all fairness, when you have licenses going for the price that they are, it is a privilege to be operating in Florida. So I do agree with him on that point. Is it like 50
All
million?
you need to do is get Disney to endorse it. If Disney were to back adult use, Ron DeSantis would be all over this.
You are so true, I think,
Well,
in that. But I don't think. But Ron DeSantis fights with Disney in regards to the whole childhood sexualization thing.
Keep him in the news, like he's following the Donald Trump like a game plan there to a T, and he'll say and do anything to keep his ass in the news until he formally announces his bid for presidency. No pushback on that, Jason?
Yes. I mean, stop it, bro. Stop it. I'm trying to throw some bait out there. I'm not biting. It's all BS.
It's true.
It's all BS, bro.
Good old Gavin.
Yes.
Who's next?
That's Rico. You got this, Rico. You got the intro, Rico.
Let's do it. So coming up next, you guys know who it is. The ivory to my ebony himself. He's the man, the longest continuously operating retailer in the universe. Ron DeSantis's thorn himself, Jason Alexander Beck. What do you have for us in this beautiful Monday morning?
Oh, yes. Good morning, Rico. Good morning, everybody. Thank you all for joining us and tuning in and getting high at 9 with us. I do want to wish Nicole West a very honorable leave from the show. She did start a new position at Butter, and we wish her all the best in her endeavors going forward, and want to thank her for everything that she has done for the show to this point. But nonetheless, I'm going to keep on going. And again, we don't have internet in my building, so if I do come across choppy, I apologize. We will have new internet tomorrow, but I'm not sure if it's being time for the show. But by Wednesday, we'll be back to perfect. But nonetheless, today, my story, there's a former Brooklyn prosecutor who cops to a role in a nationwide marijuana ring, says the federal government. A disgraced former Brooklyn prosecutor has copped to federal charges that he helped run a nationwide marijuana distribution ring, including while he was still trying cases for the DA's office. Rami Jodia, 36, admitted in Brooklyn federal court Thursday that he used his cell phone to help arrange for crates of marijuana to be shipped to associates in California from a New Jersey auto shop since at least 2014. Federal court records reviewed by the Post show federal investigators said they nabbed Judea red-handed after he came on their radar during a probe, and they tapped his phone in late winter 2016, catching him doing business with his cohorts. He reportedly worked as an assistant district attorney from April 2015 to May 2016, and the gang used J&J Dumping Incorporated in South Plainfield, New Jersey, to ship out the crates, checking on the deliveries and payments through hundreds of phone conversations. In March 1st, 2016, call Judea, a co-conspirator, Daniel Etkin, talked about collecting money from others in the operation that was owed to another alleged member of the distribution ring, Richard Gamble, the records show. And these are all quotes, and this is the conversation in regards to Judea answers, and he says, there is two more. There's 17,000 between them, and if I get 10,000, then Etkin says, do you really take them this long? Or do you really take them this long? Judea replied, well, I don't know. Stop talking on the phone. And he says, yeah, whatever. And then Etkin answers, yeah, right. Judea said, if I get them 15 grand, that leaves 12,000 left over, and I'll give you 6, and I'll give Richie 6. You know what I mean? Judea and other defendants were named in a 2019 complaint. The FBI and local police first clued in on the drug distribution ring after one of the crates was stolen by 2 armed men outside J&J Dumping in March of 2015, the records show. In court, Judea pleaded guilty to using a cell phone in the commission of a felony and faces up to 6 months in federal prison, according to his profile on the web of his Minola Lee law firm. Judea served as assistant district attorney in Brooklyn before going into private practice, where he specializes in personal injury litigation. Well, I mean, I think this story is just absolutely crazy. The fact that he was in the district attorney's office or the public defender's office, and at the same time trapping his brains out. And for a second part on this, I think this is probably the first case that I've ever seen where you have cannabis on the East Coast being shipped to California in crates. But I'm going to digress. And this is Jason Beck reporting for the High at 9 News.
This is why we need complete drug. Sorry, Chris, but this is why we need complete drug legalization, because if drugs were legal, none of this corruption would be possible.
What do you guys say, Chris? What do you think?
A couple of things that obviously jump out. I mean, somebody in a position of power abusing that power, horrible. Also agree with your comments about the New York going to California. And then I believe you said, Jason, that he was sentenced to use what he was charged with was using a cell phone in the commission of a crime.
Correct.
Interesting, because it sounds, the article described other crimes that he allegedly committed. So I'm thinking somebody might be doing a little bit of this.
Someone's definitely talking. Someone's definitely working some deals. Also, too, I'm really curious because the federal government, the number one charge that they like to throw on people, especially with any type of case like this, is the C word. That's right, conspiracy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I wonder how come he's not being charged with conspiracy as well. I think there's definitely some snitching going on somewhere in this. And you know the rule, Chris: tell on 3, go free. And so,
you know, the other rule, Jason,
what's that?
Talk about wiretaps is,
I want to hear this. Yeah.
All I'm going to say is that I love FaceTime.
Yes, that's right. That's right. If you're going to be smart about it, use your FaceTime because they can't track that.
Jason, this doesn't say anything about sentencing. Is that not happened yet?
It said that he was getting sentenced to 6 months federal time, which I think is a super low. Like he shouldn't even get to go to the feds for doing 6 months. Like people are going to laugh at him like, oh, you're only here for 6 months when he's in jail?
Not the people he told on.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, not the people he told on, but they usually will keep people like him in a place in jail that's called PC, protective custody.
I know that y'all are great lovers of the West Coast, but can you think of any reason why they would ship East Coast weed to the West? I mean, y'all. I can't
think of any reason.
None.
And like
not even a little bit.
I halfway wonder if that is just a misprint in the article that the journalist messed up on. I really wonder that. But at the same time, too, like I've seen a number of different DEA flowcharts as far as for drugs, and drugs always go west and move eastward. They don't move from east to west. So I'm very, very confused on this story. I have questions.
And the same flowcharts, I'm sure you know, Jason, exist for the cash, which show the exact opposite, right?
Exact opposite, exactly right.
And
yes, it's got to be like misinformation. Like,
I wonder if that's part of the information that was given in the Tell on 3 Go Free to get him 6 months. And he's making up this story.
Yeah, it could be some bullshit. He's just telling them that to send them on a wild goose chase.
It's all very, very possible stuff. Very possible stuff.
All right,
It is insane. Coming up next, we're gonna read. Where did it go? Oh, here we go. The disclaimer. The thoughts and opinions and shade thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of any other speaker or its followers. The statements made do not constitute legal or accounting advice, and our speakers make no representation regarding the legal status of any substance in any country, area, or territory, or any other authorities. The views expressed in this room do not establish any fiduciary relationship. Our sponsors do not imply or constitute any endorsement by us or the expression of any opinion whatsoever on the part of any speaker on stage. If you're a easily offended person, this show may not be for you. And maybe you should go and take a look in the mirror, because maybe we are just as offended too. But nonetheless, Adam, run the ad. Want to grow some of the best weed in the world? Then you must start with the best genetics in the world. Go to www.dnagenetics.shop to order regular, feminized, or autoflower beans. All of your favorite DNA genetics cultivars such as Kosher Kush, Skywalker Kush, and oh yeah, Chocolate Truffle Shuffle. Boasting more cannabis awards for their award-winning genetics than any other company in the world. Remember to go to www.dnagenetics.shop to see why our terps don't lie. Yeah. Flying into LAX and you want to taste some of the best weed in the world? Then stop by LAXCC, the closest dispensary to LAX, located at 8332 Lincoln Boulevard and open from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. 7 days a week. Always make LAXCC your first stop when you touch down in LA and score like a winner. And don't forget to tell them I sent you and mention you'd like to get High at 9 for 10% off your full order. You got Gretchen.
That one?
Yep, you got Gretchen.
All right. Coming up next, spicy red-headed conservative known in DC circles for cooking up excellence in the kitchen. But in Las Vegas, we found a little bit more about Gretchen. She likes to dance. I won't say what kind of dance. She never backs down from a good verbal sparring session from anybody across the aisle that wants to challenge her. And even though she's got a little bit too much love for Fox News, she's still the founder of Panoptic Strategies, and we love her all the better. Coming to the stage next, it's our very own Washington insider, Gretchen Gailey. What do you have for us in this beautiful Monday afternoon on the East Coast?
Good afternoon. My headline is coming from Marijuana Moment. DOJ has concerns about marijuana banking bill. Newly surfaced memo reveals, but sources say they've been resolved. So just a little bit of clickbait there. The Department of Justice sent a memo to the congressional lawmakers about a marijuana banking bill that's expected to be taken up imminently, saying the legislation as drafted could significantly complicate law enforcement investigations and prosecutions of crimes involving other drugs or money laundering. However, the agency did suggest that the Safe Banking Act is fixable from its perspective and offered guidance on how to resolve various issues. And the Senate sources told Marijuana Moment on Friday that since receiving the memo earlier this year, lawmakers have effectively addressed DOJ's concerns as a product of bipartisan negotiations over a forthcoming cannabis reform package. The memo, first noted by Punchbowl News, is reportedly the result of a request from Republican senators for DOJ to analyze the bill. DOJ wrote, because marijuana would remain illegal under federal law, Congress should ensure efforts to provide access to financial services for state legal businesses does not unintentionally erect obstacles to prosecution of other illicit activity or activities involving money laundering or proceeds of other illegal drugs or sales of marijuana that do not comply with state requirements. The Safe Banking Act purports to exempt the proceeds of cannabis-related legitimate businesses from certain money laundering statutes. This exemption is drafted broadly and could create an immunity shield around activities of cannabis businesses that involve other illicit drugs or activities. To address the issue, DOJ said that the exemption should be limited to the proceeds of cannabis-related legitimate business derived from marijuana-related activities in compliance with state law. Another key concern, according to the department, is the possible implication for money laundering that it says may be inadvertently shielded in the House-passed legislation, which is expected to be a major component of a bill that Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer is finalizing for the lame duck session that's been referred to as Safe Plus. DOJ says the bill would essentially create a possible defense to a money laundering charge and an extra burden of proof for investigators and prosecutors who would have to show that a targeted marijuana-related business or the activity from which the proceeds derived had not operated in accordance with applicable state laws. This could significantly complicate law enforcement investigations and prosecutions. For example, a marijuana-related business could be laundering proceeds from fentanyl sales on the side, or from marijuana sales conducted outside of the state regulatory framework. Despite the concerns, a DOJ official said in an email obtained by Punchbowl that the department believes it can effectively implement the legislation if some minor changes are made. The memo itself says the DOJ would be happy to work with Congress on ways to improve the bill. A reporter from the outlet clarified that while the document is just coming to public attention now, it was first circulated to lawmakers in the spring. As such, it's not clear what impact it will have on the latest state of negotiations on cannabis banking during the lame duck session. Advocates have eagerly awaited the text of Safe Plus. It's possible that it could be unveiled as an amendment to the NDAA ahead of House Rules Committee meeting on the large-scale legislation that is scheduled for today. The House has already included the original safe banking language in its versions of the NDAA earlier this year, while the Senate refused to sign on passing the reform as part of the bill in 2021. Chamber's leaders' shifting posture towards the measure has left advocates more hopeful that the legislation could be the vehicle to enact it this time around. Meanwhile, the DOJ memo also suggests smaller technical changes to the bill. One surrounds the use of the term legitimate to describe cannabis businesses. Using the word legitimate does not take account of the fact that the bill does not legalize marijuana under federal law. As a result, we recommend striking legitimate from the bill's text. If a replacement adjective is needed, state-sanctioned or locally sanctioned is preferable to legitimate. I find it interesting that this thing is just coming to light now. I hope that it is not used as a deterrent. I love how DOJ just put out as one of examples, oh, they could be selling fentanyl on the side. Love these guys. But I think that they do have valid points that people could bring up. The future of safe banking is still, of course, in question right now because we have not seen the wonderful activity on the Hill that we would like to, and the calendar, the clock is ticking. So I'm torn if they try and smash it into the NDAA. I got stripped from it before because people say cannabis does not have a place there. And as standalone legislation, many folks are saying they may not be on board. This is Gretchen for High at 9 News.
Gretchen, what do you think is the probability of safe banking going through? Because I think it's pretty low personally, but I want to hear what you think.
I'm going to be optimistic, and I'm going to say 50-50.
Really?
And I say 50-50 simply because of the timing at this point. We're the first week into this Congress. You got, 2 weeks left? They're going to have to deal with the NDAA. They're going to deal with the continuing resolution. There's going to be other issues popping up, and I don't know if safe is going to be one of the priorities. If Chuck Schumer wants to pretend that he can get shit done, he may try and push it through. I don't know. I don't know if Chuck really has the love that he does for this industry, but I do also hold optimism that next year's Congress is not the killer of all things cannabis. I don't think if safe banking doesn't happen now, I think it's effed. I think you're going to have to start looking at new vehicles because you're not going to have pro-money anymore in the House side to push it through. I think you're going to have to look at other bills to get
kills
things done.
deals.
I mean,
Time
shit, you can only
kills
pass the thing so many damn times. It's gone through 7 times and they can't get it done.
Yeah.
And it's not like the makeup of Congress has gotten that much better.
Well, I'm glad you give it higher odds than I do, because I'm at 75-25. 75 is going nowhere, and 25% hopefully optimistic that it will actually get through.
I think Chuck wants to show he can do something. I think he really does. because that's
He
what
does
Chuck
like the
loves to
grandstanding.
do, is grandstand and do bullshit. So that has his name written all over it.
But that is the only vehicle that they would be able to do it in, would be in the NDAA that's on the legislative calendar that could go through in the amount of
They could
time
do
that
it as
they have to
standalone.
vote.
They could do it. Just throw it up there. Go for it. Knock yourselves out. They could.
I mean, I don't know if the bill really has had enough floor time in the Senate to be able to justify a standalone
Has
vote.
that stopped them before? I mean, for real. It's a lame duck. Crazy shit
Safe
happens.
banking is not safe.
It's the safest form of banking. Is safe.
I have
banking.
a question for Chris Eggers. Do you see this? I mean, I could see that could be issues here. Do you see that there are issues with safe banking when it comes to crimes and stuff and larceny and all sorts of bullshit and laundering?
Yeah, absolutely. And then, one thing I say a lot in regards to safe banking is, obviously the cash aspect is important in the industry, but what we see with our client base is that, offenders are not just after the cash, that they're after the product. So I hope expectations are set realistically that, crime against cannabis businesses and targeted attacks against cannabis businesses, I don't think will just go away if safe banking passes.
Well, and I am loving the feedback from our viewers, our audience.
Yes.
Yeah, let's call some of those. Let's call them out. Let's call some of those
You've been
out.
hanging out with Rico way too long, Anna.
Hey, I'd like to circle around real quick and say that the objection brought up is true for any cash operated business: laundromats, bowling alleys, t-shirt sales, all of these businesses, the entire record industry, surfing, independent music.
Hold on, the car washes, the stall car washes you just put in and put quarters in.
All this shit is built on laundering drug profits. And if anybody's ever seen the show Ozark, you can go see how it's done.
Oh,
and so
yeah.
If we're going to stop banking for businesses that might be laundering money for drugs, then we should just stop banking altogether.
Stop all. Yeah.
There goes Saint Germain again. All right, everybody.
Yeah.
Take off your pants and eat those mushrooms I sent to you last week. We're going to do it right now.
All cash only businesses should be shut down immediately.
I do like.
Why do the pants have to come off? I don't get it.
What's that?
Why do you have to take off your pants to do mushrooms?
It just makes it more fun.
That's what he does.
Nothing to play with.
That is my thing.
Yeah, that's how you know it's time to drink the tea. But I like what Nick Bradley said in the chat.
I hear moving.
He says, "What politicians doesn't love grandstanding, Gretchen?"
Well, there are a few. I mean, they're not around anymore, but
they're not around anymore. That's right, because they didn't do enough grandstanding to get themselves reelected.
No. There used to be good quality politicians in this world, and they're all dead. George Washington was not a big grandstander. Who else we got?
Bullshit. Yeah,
George was not. He was not at all. We can get into the history books if you'd like.
He had a wooden grill.
George Washington didn't have a wooden grill. He actually pulled teeth out of his slaves' heads and made dentures with them, and that's a fact.
Well, there you go.
He also
more American propaganda that's been pushed upon me.
Yeah, they have his dentures at the Smithsonian with the story about what he did.
He also used to have hemp seeding, trading of hemp seeds once a year.
And he was also like a terrorist towards his slaves, and he's like really, really, really cruel towards the end of his life.
Where are you coming up with this shit, Rico Lamitte?
His actual history.
Yeah.
I would love to see this actual history about the.
They didn't tell me that when I was at Mount Vernon.
Because history is told by who?
Thank
you.
The
ones who win.
The victors. Next.
That's right. Yes, to the victors come the spoils. Oh, yeah. Coming up next, that's right. He's a cannabis wizard doing his damnedest to continue the work of the merry pranksters and the Brotherhood of Eternal Love. Alongside the Hogwarts PhD and Trippin' Balls, this co-host of What's Good, the Cannabis Flower and Hash Review Show, and host of Radio Free Earth podcast that boasts over 33 years in the game for sales, genetics, cultivation. And that's right. He is none other than the immortal Transylvanian Count himself, Matthew St. Germain.
Hey, everybody. Terp Reynolds filling in for St. Germain today. And I'm going to do my best job reading this piece here. I can't really see with these glasses on. Biden becomes the first president to sign a marijuana research bill. Oh, I can't do it. The Medical Marijuana and Cannabidiol Research Expansion Act passed unanimously in the Senate this week, just 2 months after it was approved by the House. Damn it, I'm going to have to get some aviator reading glasses. The measure was supported by all 216 Democrats who voted in the House. Republicans were pretty evenly split, with 109 in favor and 95 opposed. Rep. Andy Harris is opposed to legalization, but voted in favor of this bill, stating that he supports more research into medical uses for cannabidiol, which, when used medicinally, does not cause intoxication or impairment. After the Senate approved the bill this week, it has made its way over to President Joe Biden's desk, where he will have 10 working days to sign it into law. The Medical Marijuana and Cannabidiol Research Expansion Act, introduced by Senators Dianne Feinstein, Chuck Grassley, Brian Schatz, would establish a new separate registration process to facilitate research on marijuana. Woo! The bill directs the Drug Enforcement Agency Administration to follow specified procedures to register practitioners to conduct marijuana research and manufacturers to supply marijuana for said research. Finally, the bill contains several other provisions, including one that requires the DEA to determine whether there is an adequate and continuous supply of marijuana to research. That's something I'm always looking out for. The bill also prohibits the Department of Health and Human Services from reinstating the interdisciplinary review process for marijuana research, allows physicians to explain the potential risks and benefits of cannabis and its derivatives to patients, and requires the HHS to report on the therapeutic benefits of marijuana for different conditions like epilepsy. The U.S. Senate has passed a bill that would allow scientists to study the potential benefits of medical cannabis. It will give the U.S. Attorney General 60 days to either approve an application or request supplemental information from the research applicant while creating new pathways for scientists to acquire large quantities of cannabis. Medical cannabis has been legal in the USA since the 90s, and scientists and researchers have been fighting for more access for decades as well. The government's current policy for allowing research on cannabis has resulted in a cumbersome process that creates unnecessary delays, costing researchers time and money. The bill does not allow for purchasing retail products from dispensaries for research purposes. Instead, it requires that only those entities with a Schedule I registration be allowed to cultivate for research purposes. This means that if someone wanted to conduct research on the effectiveness of CBD in treating pain, they would need to go through their local university or hospital and ask them if they had a Schedule I registration so that they could get access to the plants instead of just purchasing what is readily available to consumers and patients. So for me, this is great news, and I'm really excited to hear what y'all think. This was almost Turk Reynolds for the High at 9 News. Take it away, guys.
There is a lot of controversy around this bill. Do you know about this, Matthew?
No, sir.
There's a lot of people that are saying that this is how Joe Biden is going to destroy the cannabis industry, and using this bill as a stepping stone to reschedule cannabis.
There's a lot of people
and hand it right into the hands of the pharmaceutical industry.
Wow. Who are these lot of people?
Lots of people, bro. I don't name names. What do I look like? An informant? Put the glasses on.
Oh yeah, and I got to apologize for that. I'm gonna get some sunglasses that I can read through next time if I do a character. I fell apart halfway through that. I couldn't see anything.
Yeah, I think it should be celebrated though, man. Like if even if it's incremental, even if it's just a small step or whatever, being the first president to sign legislation, it means a lot. Like even if it's just symbolic.
And if they do reschedule cannabis, they still can't keep us from growing it, so we can still grow it and escape the system like we always have. Additionally, I know Leaf Labs up in Willits has applied for, and I think they have been awarded a Schedule I license, and they have ace growers like my friend Kelron Hubbard. He grows weed for them. So there are actually current actors in California with Schedule I licenses that are looking to the future to do this.
Did you say Kelron Hubbard, like Elron Hubbard?
Kelron Hubbard, the leader of the Church of Gangenetic Appliantology. Yeah.
Oh boy. We do have Dr.
When you live in the woods about you get your own slang and your own nickname.
I love it, man.
We do have Dr. Felicia joining us from Clubhouse with a comment.
Yes.
Dr. Felicia, what do you have for us?
Good afternoon.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is a start, but I think it's Dr. Gruff, one of the physicians who actually got one of those new DA license to grow cannabis for research. He straight up said there are so many people in the FDA that are looking to just reschedule cannabis that I agree with Jason that it's I don't see it happening anytime soon. I don't think they're going to just decriminalize it. It's going to be rescheduled before.
Yeah.
anything else. That's why the whole situation seems to be set up for the pharmaceutical industry to continue to make more products off of cannabis. I really don't see the plant being freed initially. I think it's going to be rescheduled before anything else.
It's all so sad, but true, Dr. Felicia. I'm feeling the same way as you. I totally agree with you. I love when we agree. It's amazing. It means we're probably right.
Not like
yeah, the stars are aligned.
Yes, exactly.
Mercury is in.
I think a possibility of
not in
scheduling.
retrograde.
I think a possibility of scheduling cannabis could be, like I said, is just more people will grow it, and we'll just step outside this whole system. Because really, cannabis should be available to everybody. And right now, we've been, because of the illegality of cannabis, we've been in this world of like extreme profits, and then we go from illegality and extreme profits because of the risk reward scenario to legalization, and then any new tech brings all of these guys who just want to like core the essence and the center out of anything and make all of the money. And so we have that level of people coming in, and all these people with dreams of generational wealth and 10xing their investment and exit plans to the next investment strategy where they can then 10x their wealth and go to an exit plan. And like, we just need to get cannabis out of all of that. And maybe the scheduling of cannabis is a great way to just disrupt that. And all these people who want to make millions of dollars on it don't. But we all as individuals can grow cannabis in our yards inside and share it with each other, gift it with each other, trade it and sell it at a smaller scale. And I, for one, would love to see that happen.
Yeah.
As much as I'm for all of that, like, this is America. People are lazy as fuck, dude. They don't want to do that.
How many people grow their own tomatoes, Matthew? How many people grow their own tomatoes?
I know enough people that grow weed, share weed, and trade weed.
Yeah, but you live in Sonoma. You live in Sonoma. That's like Farmerville, bro. It's like
you grow
Farmville
4 plants
on Facebook.
Here's the thing: you grow 4 plants outside. You sell ounces for $50 to $100. You're making $800 to $1,600.
Bro, if you're getting $50 to $100 for an ounce of outdoor weed, bro, you're fucking crushing the game.
That's what I'm saying, bro. All day.
When COVID first popped off, the whole country ran out of toilet paper, man. We cannot fend for ourselves for anything.
Yeah,
we will continue to suck at the corporate teat of America.
No,
this whole
Rico brings back.
You have a point there. Yeah.
I do want to say in regards to this, I've said this a few times, and Jesse Barney even said in the chat, he said if they reschedule, the entire industry is non-compliant overnight. Yes. So there is this thing, the FDA, everyone, I've said this before, I'm gonna say it again because it's very, very important. The FDA regulates everything by the molecule, not by the substance. DEA regulates things by the substance. Okay. FDA already has drug preclusion on THC for Marinol and CBD for Epidiolex. Therefore, once cannabis is rescheduled to any rescheduling 2 through 5, it immediately puts every single product in the entire cannabis universe in as an illicit product, because they all contain those molecules. The FDA is the only ones that have the right under those 2 drugs to sell those molecules to the masses of the people in America. And every product on a cannabis shelf is all part of the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act, because every single product on the shelf is either a food, a drug, or a cosmetic inside of a dispensary in every single state, no matter where you live in America.
So where does that leave us?
Yeah. You have anything to say on this, Gretchen, on this research bill that just passed? You're on mute, Gretch.
I'm sorry.
Call her Gretch.
I'm fired up. Don't call me Gretch. It's another symbolic bullshit gesture, just like it's pardons. It doesn't do dick. It's not going to help anyone. Fuck it. It's just another way to pretend that they care about cannabis.
But do you think this is going to set it up for them to just reschedule cannabis and throw the entire industry into the hands of the pharmaceutical world?
No, I don't think it sets up shit. I truly think it's a piece of garbage. I think if they want to reschedule, they absolutely could. No problem. They don't need the bill to do it. This bill doesn't do anything. And it helps with red tape. And let me have your application in that took 6 years before to pass now in 3. I mean, like, it does nothing. It's ridiculous. It's to pretend that they care about cannabis. Everyone who thinks that the Democrats love cannabis are out of their minds, because they don't. I don't think Joe Biden's going to do any favors, even if it's rescheduling, anytime soon.
We have Leah Patrick up from the audience in Clubhouse. Leah, what do you have to say on this?
First off, good morning, everyone. Great to see you.
Good morning.
Thank you, Leah.
As a caregiver, and thank you for bringing us the news, by the way. I just want to say thank you to all of you.
Well, thank you for
The
always tuning in.
Epidiolex and the Sativex, my son has tried both of them with a cancer tumor, brain tumor battle. And advocating on his behalf they didn't work. The Epidiolex and the Sativex made him feel weird. He became a medical patient and is on the tincture, but it still tastes weird. And it needs to be whole plant. And it is the pharmaceutical companies. And if anybody doesn't think it's not, it is, because they are trying to synthesize everything, as we know. And I just wanted to say thank you. And the plant works. My son is still a 13-year warrior, and it's because of full whole plant medicine, not Epidiolex or Sativex, which were both tried and both failed. So we're giving my son 75% more chance with whole plant medicine. So I just wanted to say thank you, and much love and many blessings.
Thank you, Leah, and we wish your son the best.
Absolutely.
Without a doubt. Hope for a speedy recovery for him.
Leah, have you ever heard of Paul Stamets? Is she still on?
She's
So if not, you can go to fungi.com, fungi.com. Paul Stamets is the leading mycologist on the planet. He's got several patents in for a myriad of uses. He works with the U.S. government, the Defense Department, and more. He works with Johns Hopkins University, though, and the Mayo Clinic on cancer studies with mushrooms, primarily polypore mushrooms, which are the hard shelf mushrooms. So I would suggest anyone dealing with any type of cancer, go to fungi.com, fungi.com, as a beginning resource. He's got charts of what mushrooms work for what cancers. And with this, it's not just what mushroom and what cancer, but it's also your genetic makeup. So some people with certain genetic makeups will not be helped by certain mushrooms with certain cancers. So it's not a cure-all, but you do have more of a chance of tumor regression and shrinkage with certain mushroom regimens. And in fact, if anyone's ever heard of Crestin is the #1 immune boosting drug that they give people who are on chemotherapy. And Crestin is polysaccharide K, which was originally found in shiitake mushrooms. And then it's just a concentrated form of polysaccharide K from shiitake, basically.
Dr. Felicia, what did you have?
I was just going to thank Leah for sharing. Whole plant beats a cannabis isolate any day. So thank you for sharing.
All day, every day.
Thanks for having
Without
me.
doubt. Thank
Dr.
you.
Felicia,
Thank you, ladies.
while you're here, I'm just wondering, because everyone talks about the whole plant and how the pharmaceutical folks and the FDA can't seem to handle that concept. I mean, how do you move this forward? I mean, how do you really do the research, and how do you come up with medicines that can be scaled to really take advantage of this?
Well, I don't agree that the whole plant needs to try to fit into the pharmaceutical model, number one. But Dr. Russo believes that it can be done. But, it took them 10 to 12 years to produce Epidiolex when we already have the whole plant ready to go and ready to help and works much better. I disagree with that idea of trying to force the plant to fit into this model. That's just my personal opinion.
So would you treat it more like a nutraceutical?
Yeah, I think so. But I still think some people need to have some guidance, if they're trying to navigate with their pharmaceuticals and how to get. I think training more physicians to be more comfortable with cannabis and other plant medicine is the way to go, in my opinion. It's just not a single agent kind of thing. Plants have a much wider range of safety than single agent pharmaceuticals. And we're always finding out a couple of years down the road of a problem with, some side effects themselves up until years down the road, versus we had these whole plants that have been working for thousands of years. They just have a much wider safety margin. So I don't see it happening very well. If they are successful in producing more single agents, they're going to work just as poorly as the the Epidiolex and sativa in terms of how it feels to the patient.
Thank you so much for that insight, Dr. Felicia. Anybody else want to comment on that one?
No, we should keep it rolling.
Let's keep it rolling here. All right, next correspondent is a fellow dope dad who decided to trade in his issue gutted badge for a blunt and a notepad. When out on stage with us reading the weed news, this former cop's a security consultant at CC Security Solutions, dedicating each day to improving your chances of survivability. Rather than waiting on safe banking to pass, as some others believe is a more effective solution, he comes to the stage and brings us the dope news from a dope dad and a former dope-ass cop. Chris Eggers, what do you have for us?
Hey, everybody. Thanks, Rico. As always, thanks for that intro. Good to see you back on the men, buddy. Happy Monday, everybody. I have an article to share out of Sonoma County, Santa Rosa, specifically from the Mercury News in Cron 4. Santa Rosa Police Department is searching for 2 suspects who robbed a cannabis delivery van on last week. A reward up to $2,500 is being offered to anybody who provides information leading to an arrest. The cannabis delivery driver made a delivery in Oakland, California, getting cash in return, according to Santa Rosa PD. The driver then drove back to Santa Rosa on to Piner Place around 4:40. Police said that a black Audi sedan pulled up behind the van and rear-ended it lightly. The driver of the van stopped, got out, checked for damage. After stepping outside, he noticed 2 of the men approaching. The men had a gun. Realizing he was being robbed, the driver ran up from the van, and the driver was able to see that 2 suspects entered the van to take cash and other items, per the police report. They went back to Audi and fled towards Highway 101. Santa Rosa PD said that there appeared to be 2 other people in the Audi while the van was being robbed. All 4 suspects were described very generically. All they have is black men in this article. And then Mercury News, no suspect description. It says that some cash was taken from the van. The driver told the police that they could see 2 other men in the Audi. And what I wanted to discuss here in this article is that this is a very common tactic. So for anyone listening in the audience, it's very common for offenders to use this tactic. They'll rear end somebody, make them pull over, stop, etc., get out, and rob them. So make sure that you inform your driver now to pull over to a well-lit, ideally a populated area. You can use a hand signal. You can call law enforcement if you'd like. But this is a very common tactic. I wanted to share this story because there's an event coming up in Sonoma County this week, and want everyone to be safe. Thank you for letting me share it today.
I'm surprised there aren't like a lot more reports of cannabis delivery vans being robbed.
It happens all the time. I'm surprised they're not.
Why isn't it like reported on more?
Well, I mean, Nick Bradley in the comments, he's like, there were 3 subjects arrested in San Jose and charged with multiple burglaries, including dispensaries, that are not even discussed in this article. So, a lot of crime doesn't really get
doesn't hit the blotter.
Publicized in the media enough, because there's other stuff that's taking up that space.
Well, here's my question. I mean, because a number of folks, I have used delivery services when I'm out in California because it just makes life easier because I'm looking for certain products, certain topicals.
Who do you order from?
Certain topicals, huh?
When you come out here, who do you order delivery from?
What's their name? Oh, here, I'll figure it out. I'll look for their name. But my point is, many of those guys seem to be delivering in their own cars or they're unmarked vehicles. So how are these guys?
He's talking about this was a distribution van, and distribution vans have to be. So
this was not a delivery guy.
No. This was a distribution van.
Yeah. And I can speak to that, Gretchen. There, surveillance by offenders is super common. That's why I wanted to share this, because the cannabis community is coming together this weekend at a big event in Sonoma, right? And surveillance will be happening by bad guys. That's going to happen. So everybody, please be safe, be diligent. Understand that does happen. It does not get reported on very much, but it happens every day. There's a lot of great comments, specifically from Nick in the comments here about crimes that occur on cannabis businesses. And again, I don't want to shine light on it to bring the negative aspects of this industry, right, but I do want people to understand what's really happening on the daily. And it's really important. And then I also wanted to mention, there's an Instagram thing going around I saw this morning of a rapper who's involved in the cannabis industry, and I didn't want to say the name because I don't know if it's true or not, that found a tracker on his car, an Apple Air tracker. So, be very diligent.
Where was his Apple Air tracker at?
I didn't say. It was a quick, like, it was not a video or anything. It was like just a
Air tab.
Yeah.
That is super,
I saw that.
Super interesting.
And here's the thing, to your point, somebody, Nick, and to your comments about the cops won't show up, here's another thing that's happening, and I'll be super brief, but law enforcement agencies are continuing to tailor back their chase policies. So they have internal policies that say they cannot chase a car in this instance. So here's a scenario, Rico, Jason, whoever, calls the police, they're getting tailed, and let's say they call the police, they expect the cops to come pull over the bad guy car, the offender car, whatever. And it takes off. They expect the police to go chase that car. They have internal policies that say they cannot. So, that's something to be considered as well. And just another sort of responsibility on the cannabis industry to figure out, solve, and help continue to, try to keep our people, our products safe.
All right. So
is there any way we can put out the messaging and bring more awareness to this without causing a bunch of hysteria? And a lot of people say, it's too dangerous.
Good point. So CCSS is working with the DCR down in LA with an engagement via Oaksterdam, developing educational content around safety and security. And
shout out to Oaksterdam.
There's a lot of stuff that's available. Again, don't want to cause hysteria. And I tell this to clients all the time, like, I don't want to scare you into an engagement, but my job as a consultant is to be a truth teller. And, we're seeing these things happen a lot more than they're talked about. And we track this stuff. We have a lot of access to these articles. This is stuff that we follow. Obviously, it's in our wheelhouse, but don't want to scare people, to be very clear, but want people to understand what real threats are out there.
Right on.
That's 100% right, Chris. And Anna, where was that quote? Anna, she had a really good quote where it says, "No one cares about cannabis victims, and when we get hit, you don't want to advertise that either." Now, I learned this very well a number of years ago. I was the victim of a home invasion robbery, and I called the cops afterwards, and they came over and this and that, and I told them what they had stolen, and it was like, oh, they stole like some gold chains, they stole some Versace suits, and they stole some like 20 pounds of weed or so, something like that. And in the morning, in the San Francisco paper, the headlines across the papers were, "Robbers find pot of gold." And I learned at that moment of like how you have to be very cautious as being a person in cannabis in regards to, even if you are right and are the victim and have all your rights behind you, how you still have to control the narrative of what goes out.
Yep, absolutely. But there is help available, not just with folks like myself, but there is help available. And I totally respect about, the decision to not want to put it out there and talk about it publicly. Really good comments, Anna. Happy to help anyone who's listening. We do a lot of consulting at Goodwill. Anyone who wants to reach out that listens to the show, just mention that, and we'll hop on the phone and see how we can help you out.
Yeah, we want our people in our industry to be safe, man. Like straight up, we want people to be safe. We don't want people to get hurt. We don't want people in these precarious situations. But yes, times are rough, man. Like that's just the state of being here in America today. Things are fucking rough, and people are hard out. What happens? Like, they end up doing fucked up things.
And Rico, the delivery service that I like to use, they're called Nice Guys Delivery. They're very nice.
Yeah, I know.
Of course, they're called Nice Guys.
They're very helpful.
They're very helpful.
They are. Yes, because on occasion I'm outside of their zone or whatever, and they will go meet me, and we will take care of what my needs.
Oh yeah.
All right, never mind.
Nice Guys take care of your needs, huh, Gretchen?
Hey, you guys, Emerald Cup
out of their delivery zone and take care of your needs.
Anyway,
how about Emerald Cup roll call right before 10 o'clock here?
Oh,
anyone
Emerald
making
Cup.
it out?
Oh yeah, wwithout a doubt. I will be up there. I just want to read this headline to you guys real quick.
Let's do it.
Is it because it's I think this is some more reefer madness, and this is ABC reporting this, but they say the poison control reports for child marijuana use rose 245% in the last 20 years, says a study. Between the years 2000 and 2020, reports to poison control centers for child and teen marijuana use increased by 245%, according to a new study from the Oregon Health and Science University. The researchers analyzed more than 330,000 reports in the National Poison Data System over the last 20 years and found the increase in marijuana rates was most of any other substance, with the largest increase between 2017 and 2020. And the article goes on, but there is a couple thoughts that I have on this. Is that one, of course they're going to go up over the last 20 years because states have only started legalizing cannabis within the last 12 or 13 years or so, and prior to all of those years, so that would be 2001 to 2000 or 2000 to 2007. All of those years, people were still going to jail at rapid rates in regards to cannabis, and so no one wanted to snitch on themselves. And then once it goes legal, they feel like, oh yeah, here I can call the Poison Control Center and be openly admit what's going on. And so no wonder these numbers are skyrocketing, because people feel the need to be able to tell on themselves because it's not a crime anymore.
Yeah.
But the
I
number
agree
one
with you.
agent, the number
Go
one
ahead,
agent,
Dr.
though,
Felicia.
Jason,
Uh-huh.
the number one agent that they're being called about is the cough syrup ingredient dextromethorphan at 15%. Cannabis has had the largest increase in calls, but the absolute number of calls most commonly is the cough syrup dextromethorphan.
Wow. Better known as like Activist or Lean, correct, Dr. Felicia? That's the same stuff you're talking about?
Promethazine is lean.
Yeah, promethazine.
Yes, the scissor.
No, different.
The scissor, all the rappers drink.
Not DXM is robotripping. It's actually related to PCP and ketamine.
Oh yeah.
Wow. I did not know that the most calls in any poison control center were for scissor, but that does not surprise me at all whatsoever.
Norco, man. Liquid Norco.
Oh man. Oh, that's so crazy. So crazy.
Take us out, Jason.
Yes. Thank you all for getting high at 9 with us every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and high noon on the East Coast. Big shout out to all of our audience, our supporters, for tuning in daily and listening to the insanity that is known as the developing cannabis industry. Thank you to all our haters for still talking about us. Huge thank you to our sponsors, True Classic, LAXCC, and DNA Genetics for helping us keep the lights on. And thank you to our correspondents for being absolutely amazing. And thank you to Cannabis for giving us a reason to do all of this. Thank you to Cloud Media Productions production team, as well as Zaza Simone holding us down in Clubhouse. And thank you all for helping us create this cannabis space in the universe. And thank you all for tuning in daily and getting high at 9 with us. Run it, Adam. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change, with your hosts Jason Beck and Rico Lamitte, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us.